Hey, I'm Mary Karr,
I'm Christopher Robinson.
and this is Poetry Fix. One of the most shocking poetry readings I ever heard was in the 1970s when I heard Louise Gluck, who later became my thesis advisor.
And later my thesis advisor.
Ironically enough, and we met 30 years later in New York City, read this poem, Mock Orange, which is about the disappointments of marriage. Now, mock orange, you should know, is the wedding flower, except it's a very sweet, sickly sweet almost smell.
The orange blossom is the wedding flower.
I'm sorry, the orange blossom is the wedding flower. The mock orange blossom doesn't produce any fruit. So it's like a fake, kind of fakes everybody out.
Yeah.
It looks like that, but it isn't. So she said this shocking line in the middle of it. You know, she's talking about the flowers and she says, I hate them as I hate sex. And there was actually almost a gasp in the audience, like...
Everyone had become so used to sort of libidinous, lascivious...
Right,
Yeah.
hubba hubba,
Right.
I'm a hot babe, you know, pound me into guacamole. You know, that to say...
In honor of Haas Week.
Exactly,
Right?
you know, right, that to say you hate sex is really radical. So anyway, this is the poem, Mock Orange by Louise Gluck. It is not the moon, I tell you. It is these flowers lighting the yard. I hate them. I hate them as I hate sex. The man's mouth sealing my mouth, the man's paralyzing body. And the cry that always escapes, the low, humiliating premise of union. In my mind tonight, I hear the question and pursuing answer fused in one sound that mounts and then is split into the old selves, the tired antagonisms. Do you see? We were made fools of. And the scent of mock orange drifts through the window. How can I rest? How can I be content when there is still that odor in the world?
She is just so efficient with her word choice.
Oh, man.
Every word is doing double, triple duty in that poem.
I always like, she talks about economy, and she talks about how when you see the ruins of the Colosseum, you kind of have to imagine the whole stadium. The way with Picasso, you would see a piece of a guitar and you'd have to imagine the whole guitar around it. So yeah, she kind of makes you imagine, because the poem begins, you know, they're lying in bed obviously after sex, right? Some kind of post-coital misery.
Right.
Right?
Which is unstated.
Right, it's not
Yeah.
stated, but and it's like it's almost like it begins answering a question. It's not the moon that's keeping me awake. It's not the moon, I tell you, it's these flowers lighting the yard. I hate them. I hate them as I hate sex. But again, one of the most radical lines I've ever heard
Yeah.
in a poetry reading.
It's interesting how she can use that, the follow-up line to that, you know, the man's mouth sealing my mouth, is to use that article, the specific article,
The man, not your mouth or something.
not your mouth, and not a mouth, or not a man. So
Right.
it uses the article typically reserved for specificity of a particular man, and yet somehow abstracts it almost into all men.
Right.
But you know that there's this unstated particular relationship.
Right.
So it almost.
But it's also it becomes like a rape, right? And you're a poet, you're a singer, you're a talker, and it's over your mouth. It silences you,
Yeah.
right? And then the cry that comes out, that the low, humiliating premise of union, that lie that we're together as one unit, when we're not going to have children, maybe. Yeah.
It's interesting for me how her these very visceral, carnal things sort of fluidly transform into metaphysical things.
Huh.
This low, humiliating premise of union. It's a cry that suddenly becomes this abstract concept.
Right. Right. Smart woman, Louise Gluck, Mock Orange, Triumph of Achilles. Be there or be square. This is Mary Karr.
I'm Christopher Robinson.
Poetry Fix.